Alright, in this demo I'm going to show how you can quickly build a mobile-enabled web application using WebSphere Portlet Factory. In this application, it'll have one appearance when you view it from a desktop browser, and it'll have a different appearance when you view it from a smartphone or mobile device. It'll have a UI that's kind of optimized for the smartphone. Alright, so what I'm going to do is first I'm going to show you the final application, and then I'll take you through the steps of building the application from scratch. So this is the application running in WebSphere Portal. It gives me a list of recent sales orders. I can click to view the details, even make updates if I like. So this is my desktop view. Now if I go to my smartphone simulator, this is the very same portlet also running in WebSphere Portal, but now you can see it has a smartphone appropriate user interface. It's got this nice scrolling list, but similar functionality, so I can still drill down and see the details about an order, even make updates if I like. Alright, so now let me take you through the steps to build this application. What I'm going to do when I build this application is I'm going to use the provider-consumer architecture that's available in Portlet Factory. So with this architecture, what I do is I build the application in two layers. First is the service or provider layer, and this is the layer that has all the access to my backend data. In this case, I'm going to access a relational database, but it could just as well be any other data source or web service, REST service, or any backend data source. In this layer, I could also do things like transform the data to some other schema. I can also make references to any Java classes or libraries that I may have. But what I do is I define the service interface that I want to use to talk to this data. And then when I build my presentation or consumer layer, I talk only to that service interface without knowing, for example, what the specific backend is. And as you can see in this picture, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to enable two different views of this application. One for my desktop browser and another one for my smartphone device. Alright, so I'm going to start by building the provider model, the one you see on the left. Let me close all these. Alright, so I'm going to start with a SQL Data Services Provider starting point. Give it a name. Call it order. Select the data source that I want to use, and then select the database table that I want to access. In this case, I'm only accessing a single table, but you could also access additional tables and do joins and things like that. I'm going to use these checkboxes to tell it what operations I want to enable. In this case, I'm going to leave the complete CRUD capability available. And I'll give this model a name. We'll call it orders service. Alright, so what we see in this model, over here in the outline view, we have just a single builder initially. This is the SQL Data Services builder. And if I want, I can look at some of the generated code or generated elements for this application. For example, I could look at the schema that I have, which was generated from the database structure. One of the nice features that you have when you use this provider-consumer architecture is the testing support. So if I open up the SQL Data Services builder, I can see that there's a checkbox for add testing support. So with this enabled, what I get is a complete test harness generated for me. So let me now run this model, and we'll see the generated test harness. What I have is links for each of the operations in the service interface that I've defined, and I can test each one out. So I can test the list order operation. I can see my data coming back from the database. Let me copy one of these order IDs and go back and test the retrieve order operation. This one takes an order ID input. Alright, if I wanted to, I could go and test the other operations. I'm not going to do that right now. So now let me continue and create the presentation or consumer part of this application. Create a new Portlet Factory model. This time I'm going to use the mobile list and detail service consumer starting point. Give it a name. We'll call it orders view. Now I'm going to select the service provider that I just created, the order service model. I'm going to leave the checkbox enabled that allows me to run this model as a portlet. Give it a portlet title, recent orders. Now I want to specify the service operation that I want to use to get my initial data display. So this is going to be the list order operation. I'm going to enable a link so that I can drill down and see the details about an order. And I'm going to tell it that I want to get that data from another operation in this service, and that will be the retrieve order operation. Next, it notices that the retrieve order operation requires an input, which is the order ID, and it's made a guess about where that value might come from at runtime. If I want to select a different value, I can do that, but as it turns out, it selected the right value because the names happen to match. Alright, on this screen I have a chance to basically change a lot of the behavior of all the fields in the application. I can do things like set the labels, I can show and hide fields, I can enable sorting, set the field type, and enable lookup table or drop-down list behavior. I'm just going to make a couple of changes here. For the photo field, I'm going to tell it, instead of displaying as a string field, I want to display it as an image display. And then on the amount field, instead of a simple floating point, I'm going to change it to display and validate as a currency field. I'm going to type in the header that I want to use on my pages. We'll call it recent orders. Alright, on this screen, I'm going to start to tell it how to display my data on a smartphone or mobile device. So what I have here is I can choose from a number of different layouts. These are layout templates. I'm going to use the one called thumbnail multi-line list that basically lets me have a thumbnail on the left-hand side and then lets me fill in different lines of text from my data. I'm going to select the style sheet file that I want to use. In this case, I'm going to use the edge-to-edge list style. And now I can tell it what data I want to use in the different placeholder locations for this layout. So on the image or the thumbnail that goes on the left, I'm going to select the photo field. And I'm going to set the style of that to be a small image style. Then in the center, I have a few different fields I want to display. At the top, I'm going to display the status of an order, and I'm going to make that bold by using the label text style. In the middle, I'm going to display the amount of this order, and I'm going to make that use an italic display. At the bottom, I'm going to display the description, and again, I'll use italic for that. And then on the right hand side, I'm going to display the order ID. Alright, there's one more checkbox on this screen, and this is the one that enables this application to display differently for different devices. This is the device type profiling feature. So I'm going to enable that. Click next. I'll save this model. We'll call it employee, we'll call it orders view. Alright, so now we can see in this model I've got a number of builders, 8 builders here, and I've got a couple of different pages that were generated. The first one for my desktop display is going to give me a tabular display of this data, and then the second one is going to show the details about one order. So let me now run this, and you'll see the default desktop display. Here's my orders data. I could do a number of things to kind of change, customize the appearance of this, but at the moment I'm just going to leave it at, a lot of these at the default. Alright, so that's my desktop display. Now, let me go back to the model and point out a couple things. Notice that some of the builders in this builder list are grayed out, meaning that they're currently disabled. These are actually the builders that will enable some of the different behavior and appearance for my smartphone device. So the first one is the theme builder. So let me open that up. Notice that the mobile UI theme is selected. However, this builder is now currently disabled. With this builder input, you can basically selectively turn on and off the different builders in a model. And in this case, this value is profiled according to my device type profiling. So these are some of the profiles that are available out of the box for doing this device type profiling. And you can see that this builder is enabled only for my smartphone profiles, for the smartphone profile and the different specific variations on the smartphone. The same thing was done with the data layout builder. This is the builder that does the thumbnail multi-line list layout that I was talking about. But just as in the other builder, this has been selectively enabled. So it's enabled only for my smartphone profiles. Alright, so what this means is that now when I run this model, it'll automatically use my device type profiling and turn on those builders only when I'm viewing it from a smartphone device. So let me run it now, again, from a desktop browser. Here's my default appearance, but now let me take that URL and copy it, and now paste it in to my smartphone simulator. And now we see that it has the nice looking display that's appropriate for a smartphone device, but the same kind of functionality. So I can, tap one of these rows and view the details about this sales order. Alright, so let me show you again where we are in this picture. So I built out a simple presentation or consumer model. I used some of these builders that are typically used in Portland Factory to generate a user interface. And then I have some builders that are specially enabled for my mobile devices that can give it that mobile optimized appearance. And at this point, I can go on and customize this application using the complete set of builders that's available in Portland Factory, all the UI customization builders, or on the service or provider layer, I can go and enable other services, access different data sources, and so forth. Alright, so that was a quick look at building a mobile-enabled web application.